When was the first time you saw Viola Davis? It's interesting. It's a flex that I have. I believe that I can always tell a great actor or actress that I saw, and I can remember the first time I saw her. I saw Viola Davis for the first time in a series called The City of Angels. I tried looking for the series recently and I realized that that series had only 2 seasons, and that series was so good because he had Blair Underwood. Now we know Blair Underwood, he was the guy back then, right? I saw her in the early 2000s. Now I don't know when this series actually aired, but I just knew that it was this really good show. She played a nurse with Octavia Spencer. I had seen Octavia Spencer in some other shows before, like I'd seen her in what's that one? I think it's Blue Streak with Martin Lawrence. She played a small part, But in that show, the two of them were like these bestie nurses, and it was really good. I remember this show very well. Anyway, if this is your first time, welcome to Nes Telly. I am Nes, and today we are discussing the book Finding Me by Viola Davis. Hey, I've read my own share of autobiography, right? And I don't know if I've read a book that dragged me the way it did. And it starts to make sense why the book did as well as it did. Now, I feel like it's one of those books that I know I'm never going to read again because the emotion that it came with is so deep and it's so heart-wrenching. Viola Davis was born I think it's in the 60s, that's 1960s, sorry, in Rhode Island, right? The US. And Rhode Island is a predominantly white island, let's call it that. And the book starts with her talking about, anyway, I don't want to curse because the first word in the book, the first phrase in the book is like a curse word. And he said that was the curse word that she got used to hearing people calling her. And then she learned to use it too. And this starts from when she's like 6 years old or 7 years old. And she's talking about how she's waiting in her class or she's waiting in school for the school bell to ring. That's for school to be over. And then she has her books in her hand and she has her shoes in her hand. It is snowing outside and she has to run home. She has to run home because there are these bigger kids that have bike that always chase her. And if they catch her, they beat her black. And the reason they do this is because she's black. Like it's a lot of it's hard for me to understand or relate. I'm an 80s kid in Nigeria, so I cannot understand someone's color bothering me so much or bothering someone I know so much that they feel like they need to take out their anger on this child. And she talked about how when she's running, she'll be hearing snow balls wrapped in bricks or rocks whizzing past her ear. Sometimes it hits her, but it doesn't matter. She has to run. She runs in biting cold with bare feet because her shoes are too tight and she cannot run well. And the whole time she has to preserve those shoes. She talks about running home. She said this run takes about, I think, 20 to 30 minutes before she gets back home. And then she gets home. Home is not exactly any better. Viola. Anyway, so that's the book, Finding Me. A lot of the parts that really talks at your heart is her growing up. She would say that she was poor. That's not poor. I've never heard that word before. She said we were not poor, we're poor. Like it's a very I think it's a very black way of saying the word poor, or a very extended way to explain how poor she was growing up. Her house had holes, there was no heating, there was no, so like she talks about the clothes that they wear to school, they wash it, but because they don't have dryers and the weather is cold outside, it's snowy, she gets to just hang it over somewhere in her room, and then she wears them wet the next day to go to school in the cold. She comes from a family of I think 7 or I think 8. She's the second to last born, or she's not like one of the older kids. And by the time she is around this age, the first 4 have actually left the house. So there's her, an older sibling, then there's there are 2 older siblings than her. Unless I've forgotten all of this. I read this book a while ago, and let me even start by apologizing. I did this video sometime in I think May. I was supposed to discuss it with you guys. There are a lot of videos that fall into this category. And the camera that was used, the file, or the chip that was used to record it got corrupted. So all that gone. Anyway, so back to my gist. So it's a big family. Mother got married when she was like, I think 15 or so. And she's married to this extremely violent man. Like every other night, she and her sisters wake up and they hold each other while the father, when they say plummels, is that the word? Pummels, beats her mom to a pulp. You know, they're screaming. So the time the father collected pencil and stabbed the mother on the neck. He's drunk. You're hearing, and sometimes you have to carry mommy to the hospital in the night, and that's the life that she knew. She talked about what it was like growing up there, what the neighborhood was like, the house, the time the house caught fire, and they didn't even bother coming to douse the house because douse the fire because the house was kind of like a dejected building. So it's like if it's burning, let it burn. So um she grew up in a very like if you see her now, like when I was reading this book, I remember the first time I saw her. Like I couldn't, of course, there's no way to actually tell someone where they come from and all that. However, I just couldn't believe, like knowing now that she has won an Oscar, she's won a Grammy, she's won an Emmy, and she's also won a Tony, you wouldn't realize how bad things were for her growing up. When she was around, I think 12 years old, her older sister looked at her and said, have you ever thought to get out? And she was like, get out of what? She's like, get out of here, get out of this life. And she, like, until that day, she never actually thought that she thought that this was her life. Her older siblings had gone running the streets. Some of them were addicts. Some had gotten pregnant and brought, as they would get pregnant, bring the kids for the mom to take care of, and this was all, so like all these grandchildren at this point, her nephews and nieces are exposed to the violence from the father. And they are in this biting cold. It's a two-bedroom apartment. There are holes in the wall. There are rats. Oh, the rats. I forgot to talk about the rats. I don't want to get into the rats. The rats were crazy. But, the situation is like, it's a very, very bad situation she got going on, or they got going on, this family. And the kids would leave. They were addicts. Some died. Some they just never saw. So she just thought that would be her own faith. Like maybe when she turned 16 or something, she'll just get up one day and say, you know what, I'm leaving, and do whatever it is that every other person is doing. But she never knew that she had another way to live. And there was a TV in their house that somehow worked, and the sister told her, look at that. That's how we're going to live. And that's how she suddenly started thinking maybe she could be an actress. What else did she have to do with her time? She went to school. She faced racism from teachers, from fellow students. Nobody wanted to be friends with her. Not like a lot of things were happening to her. She wasn't just black. She was black. She was, I don't like that I'm using the word, but I'll say dirty. She wasn't cared for. Do you understand? When you see a girl come to school with wet clothes in the snow, you can tell that she's not being cared for. And there's like nothing, she doesn't eat in school. There was a day she raised her hand, in class with one teacher, and she wanted to pee. And she refused to let her pee. That's how she peed on herself there because she couldn't hold it in. So she said she came back to class the next day and realized that the cleaners had cleaned everything else and left the pee on her chair for her to sit on like that. This will do something to me, Sha. Let me carry on, Sha. Anyway, so she didn't know that there was a way to live this life that was hers. So I think there was a time there was a talent thing that happened. So she and her older sister and her younger sister decided to put up a play together. And they did put up a play and the family won, you know, with this play. But like from there, she and Star, they knew that they had. So apparently there's two of them in Hollywood. The sister doesn't work. I don't think she's an actress anymore. I think she does other things in Hollywood. But there's two of them, her older sister and her. So she and her older sister became very good friends. As in, they've always been very good friends, but they kind of banded together and said, okay, so we're going to find this way and we're going to go. So somehow they were lucky. They got, I think she got not a scholarship actually. They were able to enter because she had to pay to go to Juilliard. She went into Juilliard and her life became a little better. She saw more black people like her that were doing better, and she moved to New York and she started living there. She talked about getting the apartment there, meeting people there, people that she worked with while she was, as in people that she learned with while she was there. Some of them still got lost to drugs and stress. Some of them to cancer. So it's like in between all this, she talks about things like women issues, color issues, race issues, and all that. But there's something that she said I found very profound. One, that was that she did the work that was there to do. She kind of, I don't know whether she actually said it, but it kind of reminded me of that. She said that if you were to act in a very demeaning part, you may not want to, but you find work to do and you do it. Because you remember, if you know Viola Davis, her color, she's black. Casting black people in the 80s, in the 90s, in the 70s was very, very tough. When you get a job, you do it with your whole heart. Do you understand? So she started by doing a lot of plays, and she did a lot of work. Now, of course, now we can, because I know that when she did the help, she got criticized because they said that I've forgotten what the issue was with the help, because I don't try to speak on color issue. I'm a Nigerian living in Nigeria. I don't, and I've never even been to the US, so I don't know or understand the race scope. So I try not to speak on it. I just talk based off what I know and I've read about. And she's just saying that, when she was in the help, she was criticized for doing some things. And she said that she regrets doing some things in that movie for some reasons, but she doesn't regret doing that work because it was good work. You get good work to do, you do it. So she's a workaholic. She works her heart off. And then when she was like 26, she realized, by the time she saw more people die, lost to drugs, lost to pregnancy, lost to HIV, those kind of things, she decided to get therapy because she realized that the way she had grown up had created major trauma that affected her life so much. It was really, really bad. So, and apparently that was the best decision she could ever make. She was working for a play, I think it was for a company, a play that was doing some things in Broadway, and they somehow afforded her health benefits, and her belt health benefits afforded her therapy. So every other week, she would walk into somewhere and just talk. Things that she considered normal, she had to go and sort that through to be able to even be a better actress. She was already a very good actress at this point, by the way. She talked about what it was like doing movies. I think it was Doubts that she did with, is it Philip Hoffman? I'll write his name here. I've forgotten his name. Philip Duff. I've forgotten his name. That great actor that died. Then even Mel Streep, what that was like. And, her looking at her saying, hey, like, see my life, see me. That kind of thing. Look at me doing this. This is something that she never knew she could ever do. And even the City of God, which is what I mentioned, City of Angels. Sorry, I said City of God, City of Angels. So she just talked about all that. Then even going on to now act fences with Denzel, and she talks about the way she felt. Like, it's so, like, you can tell that she's present in it. She talks about being married, her husband, what that's like, then her having to deal with fibroids after all, talking about everything that she won, all her awards that she's won. And this book was the book that gave her the EGOT. EGOT is when you win an Emmy, a Grammy, an Oscar, and a Tony. And it's a very tough, I think it's only 20 people, 21 people, I think, depending on the list you look at, that have actually won this. Like, it's a very niched category to be a part of. Most people that are able to win all that, they are winning honoraries here and there. Most of them are not doing like work like Viola Davis is. But this book, her audio book, she actually won for, let me look at my laptop for a minute. She actually won her Oscar for, because it's the audio book I listened to, and I just remember feeling like she was just there listening to me. I mean, she was just there talking to me. I like listening to audiobooks that's read by the actual author, especially when it's a voice I already recognize. So she won the Grammy Award for Best Audiobook Narration and Storytelling Recording for Finding Me. That's the name of this book. And she narrated it herself, so she won. That's how she got her EGOT. And it's a very niche this thing. A lot of other actresses have been able to win, like for acting, Oscar, Tony, and the Emmys. But music, that's sound or music, is where Grammys come in. So it's very hard to actually get that. And honestly, in the entire Hollywood, there's only been like 21 people that are, and she happens to be one of those. And so, yeah, that's it. Is that all there is to this book? I don't think so. She talks about being married, dealing with fibroids, then talks about, another thing I also like that she talked about was when she left her family, she didn't try to carry her family along. Do you understand? Now, it's not like she dejected them. She sent money home all the time, but she even gave them a better house. She was able to rent a better space for them. They were no more living there once she could afford it. I think by the time she was in her late 30s, she could afford a good home. But she didn't try to carry, that thing where you make money, you now buy a mansion and then move your whole family in. She didn't do that. Because again, therapy had taught her that if she decides to carry everybody along, she's going to sink faster. And I know that, in the world that we live in now, you may look at it as cruel and all that, but that for her, she needed to be able to stay above water to be able to help others. Do you understand? So she does this thing every Christmas. She goes home, she celebrates because her siblings have, like, I think right now, the father is dead. This is another person that really, you know, when you hear a story, I think social media does that to you. It feels very two dimensional. It's crazy that when she's talking about her father dying, she was sad that her father died. Even though most of her life as a child, she wanted her father to die. She wished her father would just go and never come back because of how violent the father was to the mom. Like, she would come home from school after running marathon from wicked people outside on the street, and she sees blood in the stairwell leading to her. She just knows my mom is bleeding because my father has done something crazy to her. And she will go and because she'll see the mother on the floor, and she has to either call an ambulance or she has to find somebody that can help. And it was like, so she just wanted the father to die. Then the father dies when she was like, I think she was like 30. And she was sad. I am sad. Why am I sad? This man was a violent demon. But here's the thing. About 10 years before the man died, the man treated the mother like an egg. That's also we say it in the where we are from in Nigeria, in the East. He said she carried her like a precious egg, treated her like a queen. If the mother said, "Oh, my hand is spinning," the man will run and cry. So like the man just did this 360 that he did. Like I think it was in the last 15 years. So it's like she just came home one day and realized that the father was not drinking anymore, and the father was catering to every single need of the mother. And he was not violent. There was no shouting. Like at this point, she said that she was a big actress living in a beautiful big house, and she'll wake up in the night because she thinks that she's hearing her parents arguing, and there's no argument. It's just nothing. It's something that she thinks that she said that happens to her till today, as old as she's like. She's almost, I think she's almost 50 now, or she's going to be 50 soon. So sometimes she still sleeps and she hears the screaming and the banging and the hitting and the screaming. But this man, by the time he died, he was treating, so it's like he was a different person. He would talk to them. He would relate to them. However, her older siblings and some other siblings that were there were out on the streets having babies and bringing them back to the mom. So at this point, when the last time she had addressed her family, she said that there was her mom, like one or two of the siblings had been there. Some of her brothers had been killed, had died, either from gang or drug related issues. And all of them had children. So there were like 17 grandchildren in the house. Imagine her having to take care of 17 grandchildren that Anna has, and she has to work hard and do that. It's a lot of work. Let's be honest, it's a lot of work. But somehow she's able to do this, and she's able to stay guilt-free, and she's able to care for them. I mean, I think it's a true story of it's a miracle. I feel like when I finish reading this book, I'm like, this woman is a miracle, because we know that there's a level of poverty that you come from that it's hard to come out of. You come out hard, and that's what we call hard in the streets. You come out hard, and you cannot really, you can't come out of it. Like that thing, it buries you. And somehow she came out of it. And I don't know, it's just so impressive. I'm still looking at my this thing here. So yeah, that's it. Examples of people that have gotten EGOT. Like let me throw that out there. There's Whoopi Goldberg, there's John Legend, there's Jennifer Hudson. Jennifer Hudson makes sense because she's an excellent musician who then transitioned well into acting. Then Elton John. I'm curious about how Elton John did that, because I know he has acted a bit, but I'm surprised how he may have gotten something like an Oscar. Okay, Oscar should be for soundtrack. Anyway, I'll do research and I'll let you guys know. Just follow my Instagram if you haven't already. I'll write a little bit about that. So that's it. So I think I want to start doing something where I can ask, will I say questions, right? What questions would I ask, or what questions did reading this book make me come up with? So I wrote them down here. I wanted to say things like what I kept on wondering was, has her understanding of identity changed over time? Because when she said finding me, like finding her through this thing that the whole world thought she was, poor, black, dirty girl. That curse word, she used it a lot in this thing. I don't want to say it, and I'm not going to write it down, but it was a very long curse word, like with the N word there. So it's like finding herself despite this identity that's been placed on her. Oh, I forgot to mention sexual assault was involved. There was sexual assault in there somewhere. So living through her trauma, what did I learn from her about living through trauma? Being able to be bright and light and beautiful and soft despite being able to be loved. That's another thing. Because when she talked about her husband, she talked about allowing herself to be loved. There's something about when you become a hustler, you've had to you're pretty much figuring out this life yourself, and then somewhere you just meet this guy that just really wants to be into you, and you're wondering, this person cannot do what I want, this kind of thing. So there was that. Then, of course, this is for those of us in the US. What critique does she make of Hollywood and the society at large? This is about racism, colorism, and representation. Um, I think at this point you can ask this question. What do you think about I in 2025? I think it's much better. You know, you're seeing more this thing. But again, like I said, I don't try to speak on American issues because I don't know or experience it. So I'm curious to hear what those of us that are in the US, what do you think of, how do you think Hollywood is handling the whole racism, colorism, and representation of people of multiple diverse colors? How is that being handled? I don't want this video. I suspect this video is very is very distinct. Then another thing, last thing I'm going to talk about is forgiveness and growth. I think a lot of us know that when you forgive, you're not doing the other person a favor. You're actually helping yourself out. However, these things, when they happen to you, they are so big and they are so huge, right? That you feel like you have the right to hold on to it. Viola's ability to grow, oh my God, I am so sorry, to grow and be the person we know her to be now is came from her ability to forgive her dad and even forgive her mom for choosing to stay, even though her mom didn't have a choice. But I feel like we kids, especially daughters, we have this thing that we do with our moms where we use our present state to judge our mom in their own state. I've heard it so many times. I talk to girlfriends, I talk to cousins, I talk to siblings, and you hear some things. You're like, why are you using 2025 to judge 1960 something, 1920? I don't know if you understand. And forgiveness and growth helps you do that. If you can go and look at your mom, if you're a girl and you think about your mom, you think, oh, this mom did this to me, did this to me. If you want to forgive, because you have to want to do it, if you're willing to forgive, can you go and ask your mom or her siblings, ask around if you can, ask what was it like for her growing up? Why did she land where she was? Because this is what Viola did. Viola went and found out why her father ended up being who he was. There's a lot of talk for a book that I believe that you don't get the real scope of, because I really want you to read this book. It's available on Audible. It's available on Apple. I think it's Apple Store. That's the audio site. I don't know what Apple Audio is called, but I read it or I listened to it on Everand. The physical copy is also available on Amazon and Roving Heights. But I think that if you really, really want to get into like in-depth understanding of what your life could be like if you could just make some major steps, I really think you should read this book. See how sober this book has made me. See, I'm just talking like I'm a good girl. Anyway, so yeah, if you haven't already, please, I don't know if I've said it already, please, I want to hear from you. Are you a big fan of Viola Davis? I started this recording by asking, if do you remember the first movie you saw her in? If you do, let me know what it was. If you haven't seen it, if I haven't seen it, I'll go and see if I can see it, then we can talk about it. Then please leave a comment below, subscribe if you haven't, and ring a bell so that you can get notified anytime. I want to say a big thank you to all of you because I haven't recorded in such a long time. Like after that thing that happened with that card, I was very miserable, I must say. So that, in addition to multiple other things, including things like even finances and stress here and there, a lot of these things actually stopped me from recording, and it's not an excuse. I hope it doesn't happen again, but welcome to December. And I cannot wait to share everything I've read through the year till now, because I have so many things I've read that I've not recorded. I cannot wait to share all of them with you. And if you haven't already, please join me on Instagram, join Nestele on TikTok, join Nestele on Instagram, and join Nestele on Facebook. Until next time, love you. Mwah.